Hi, welcome to the Silver Spleen. My name is Buddy Cianci, and this is my review of Overheard 1 and 2. I had been looking forward to Overheard for a while before I saw it. With its cast and crew, it would have been hard for this film to fail. The film largely succeeds, although not without its flaws. It's entertaining, and it's a lot of fun. My biggest criticism could be expressed allegorically. If pathos were butter, this film would give you a heart attack. It was impossible not to know when something important was going to happen because the music wouldn't allow you to not know. It became a little off-putting, but I admit that melodrama is often in overabundance in Hong Kong movies. It's not always a bad thing if it's handled well. A much lesser niggle is the occasional lack of what might be called behavioral focus. People doing things that are so far out of logical bounds that you're forced to remember that you're watching a movie. A cop that's involved in insider trading and a gross breach of both the law and ethical behavior is not likely to be standing on a desk leading the cheers of day traders. But hey, nobody ever makes movies that make total sense. One point that I characterize, at least for myself, as ambivalent, that means it's a positive negative or a negative positive, is the film's fairly unobtrusive way of ensuring that it could be released in China. The story folds up quite neatly, but does so logically and certainly within the purview of the narrative, without some Mandarin-speaking cop showing up in the last 10 minutes, fingering his pair of handcuffs and with a knowing look on his face. Never mind all that. Let's look at the good parts of this movie. The casting was perfect for this film. It was nice to see people who fit into their roles very naturally, because to me it makes it easier to forget that they're actors and to see them as their characters. Hong Kong movies often have casting that taxes my suspension of disbelief. Thankfully that was absent here, as people and their situations were highly believable. Michael Wong was great, both in character and by virtue of being Michael Wong. He makes any film better. Michael Wong is like a Chinese Dennis Hopper. The film looked really nice, and I thought it was very well edited too. Some of the CGI was noticeable, but not anything close to, Samuel Jackson becoming a shark treat in Deep Blue Sea. Overheard was well acted, engaging, entertaining, and certainly worth the time and money. Probably because it was successful, they announced a sequel. But, because this is Hong Kong, Overheard 2 was a sequel in name only. It recycles the three actors from the first film, but it gives them new characters in a new story. No, it makes no sense to me either. Except to show you that who is in your movie is a lot more important than who they play in your movie. But don't worry, because the story makes a lot of sense. Sort of. What I mean is that it's impossible not to understand the story in Overheard 2 because it's so overexposed, and by that I mean too much exposition. You'd basically have to be a kitten with brain damage not to understand what's going on. The story's telling literally gets in the way. That's how ponderous it is. They explain everything in this movie. Except for Daniel Wu's nosebleed. That never gets explained. I was disappointed because I enjoyed the first movie, but this one had so many problems I just couldn't really get caught up in it. First, no disrespect to Singapore, but I really doubt that their soldiers, on average, are trained so well in so many skills that would make them the equivalent of special operations forces in the rest of the world. Second, if they wanted Louis Koo to look old, they should have bought a better brand of white shoe polish to daub into his hair. It looked as bad as his teeth and protege. Third, I actually thought they should have swapped out the characters for Louis Koo and Lau Ching Wan. They were both playing not so much against type, but against their strengths. The film exploits the rising resentment people have against the hegemony of property owners, making the bad guys a bunch of greedy rich men. The movie throws in the odd accusation and insult about Barack Obama and the United States. Well, I guess the China market won't suck itself. Now, I'm not objecting to the critique of America, but I am objecting to how pedantic it is, which kind of goes for Overheard 2 as well. They're making Overheard 3, naturally, and I'm sure it'll be interesting one way or another. So I can strongly recommend Overheard, but maybe not the second one. Either way, I can certainly recommend that you don't download the movies or go cheap and just watch them online like a lazy piece of shit. I got a better idea. Why don't you buy the movies that you watch, like I do? In the description, There are links where you can buy this movie and others. That's what I want you to do. If you enjoyed this review, please leave me a comment. If you didn't enjoy the review, write me a really nasty comment, but make sure you run it through grammar and spell check, and then leave it too. And if you really enjoy the channel, please think about subscribing. Have a lovely afternoon. The movie is very China-friendly, but the soundtrack isn't done by that mainland metal band Didactica, so that's a bonus.